Welcome to the Pro-Black Perspective, where black problems are addressed with black solutions. Your host tonight is the author of the Pro-Black Compendium and Zuberi and the Maroons of Ma'at, the Pan-African Nationalist, Oni. Oni, what are we discussing tonight?
Peace, 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 family. Today, we are discussing what is communism. Let me know, however, if you can hear me clearly. This thing is telling me that the stream is not necessarily the clearest. But let me know if you can hear me. Today is about what is communism, and what we're going to do is we're going to look at a paper written by none other than Lenin, who is one of the few actual communist revolutionaries in a sense. You know, Lenin did a successful takeover of Russia, and in doing so, he launched Russia into what is now one of the superpowers in the world, right? So we're going to read his paper, and without much further ado, we're going to jump right into it, right? So this paper right here is written by Lenin, and it's called Communism is Soviet Power plus Electrification of the Whole Country. And this is already one of the most important concepts you're going to come across, right? Communism is Soviet power, so you have to figure out what Soviet means, but also electrification of the whole country. And this is actually just, if you just summarize it in one sentence, this is why black people want communism, right? Because what communism basically means is that you're going to modernize the way the human condition, and by modernize, I mean electrify the human condition and the human way of life, and use electricity along with nature in order to facilitate a better living style. As to say that you're going to now have light everywhere, and you're going to have electrical heating or electrical cooling everywhere. The point being that this electrification is something that's lacking right now in Africa, but something that the Russians said, hey, look, this is what we really have to focus on. Because even if you were to look into America, not everywhere has electrification, right? Not everywhere has internet. What the communists are saying is, hey, look, everywhere is going to have electrification. And if internet were existing there, then they would say everywhere will have internet. That's a really important concept when we're talking about what we can do and how we can do things for our people on the continent of Africa. Like, what is it that we must really seriously focus on? And that's electricity. Okay, so Bit of Medicine says he can hear me, which is a good thing. So I think that's good, right? Okay, so let's go. So Vladimir Lenin report on the work of the Council of People's Commissars. So he says, I now come to the last item, the question of electrification, which stands on the agenda of the Congress. You are to hear a report on this subject. I think that we are witnessing a momentous change, one which in any case marks the beginning of an important success for the Soviets. Here, henceforth, the rostrum at all Russia congresses will be mounted, not only by politicians and administrators, but also by engineers and agronomists. This marks the beginning of that very happy time when politics will recede into the background, when politics will be discussed less often and at shorter length, and engineers and agronomists will do most of the talking. To really proceed with the work of economic development, this custom must be initiated at the All Russia Congress of Soviets and in all Soviets and organizations, newspapers, organs of propaganda and agitation, and all institutions from top to bottom. So if you didn't pick up on it, I didn't read this yet, I think it's probably an important, like again, the main thing is the electrification. But hear this right here. He's saying this, right? They're going to have an All Russia Congress that was formerly led by politicians and administrators, but he's saying no, that politicians and administrators need to take a step back and have the engineers and agronomists step forward. Now, if I recall correctly, an agronomist is a field, a scientific field regarding agriculture, right? So I'm going to look up that really quickly. But the point being that so it says an expert in the science of soil management and crop production, right? So he's saying this, that the politicians are going to take a back seat, right? And realistically speaking, the government of the people are going to be headed by people who are focused on building the agricultural community and building the engineering community, in a sense, right? By engineering community, I mean building the infrastructure of the community. So it's not going to be politicians cutting deals across and so on and so forth, but engineers saying, what do I need, right? Agronomists saying, what do we need to do? And that's again, one of the more important things that I want people to understand when you're looking at either the Soviets or even when you're looking at your own sort of communities, as to say, who should be in charge? And what skill sets should you bring towards the administration of Africa and their countries? Now, I do want to emphasize, for those of you who are not on a Discord, there was this conversation on Discord just like a few hours ago. So make sure you join the Discord and check it out. But one of the things that was pointed out, that I pointed out, was that realistically speaking, one of the difficulties that African leaders are going to have is that we have very small political parties, right? I was supposed to look up this, but, Lenin belonged, before he took control of Russia, he belonged to the Bolshevik Party, right? He was leading the Bolshevik Party. The same with other political leaders. China had the CCP, I believe, the Chinese Communist Party. Obviously, Hitler had the, the Nationalist Socialist Party or something, the Nazi Party or whatever, right? But these were huge political parties even before they joined, before they had power, right? Now you contrapose that to what Nyerere might have had, or Sankara might have had, or Nkrumah might have had, and of course the level of discipline throughout those sort of institutions or those sort of organizations, and you realize that they might have been shorthanded, right? And then, but even if they weren't, you have to look at yourself, and you have to ask yourself, what political party do you belong to, right? And how many members are in that political party, right? Because one of the things that we tend to do is we tend to discuss at length good solutions, right? But if you are in a political party of zero, because you're not in the political party, right? If you're in a political party of zero, the reality is that when it's time to call upon the engineers and the agronomists, they're not even a part of your political party. When it's time to call upon the politicians and administrators, they're not even a part of your political party. And when these people are not a part of your political party and you put them into political power, you then surrendered yourself to possibly your enemies. You understand? I'll give you an example. In fact, actually, this is what happened to me when I was doing the Freedom Party in New York, right? So I wasn't doing it. I was just a member of it. But what happened was that we wanted a politician to run for governor in New York. So we said, let us pick a politician, and we picked a Democrat named Charles Barron, right? So Charles Barron runs on the Freedom Party ticket, and then he sells it out to the Democrats. And everyone is like, what? How did he do that? Why did he do that? We were kind of shocked. But then somebody did say, pointed out later, like, well, duh. Well, duh, obviously the leadership was like, he didn't think he would betray black people. But you got to realize that if you're looking for political members in other political parties with other political training and other political, functions and systems, you're going to get screwed over. So what happens is you got to pay attention to this, that the Soviets, right, had engineers, had agronomists, had politicians, had administrators, had lawyers in their political party. You do not. So all of your dreams or your wishes of, what you can do in Africa, you have to pay attention to the main thing, which is form a political party. That's why I always got to salute Azania for their EFF and their BLF, because they at least have it. Anyway, we're gonna go back to the literature. Make sure that there's no comments. So like I said, Bitter Medicine's in the comments. I see some concurrent views. I see some likes. Thanks, family. We're gonna go right into it. So let's go. and I'm only really stalling because, not stalling, but, this is a short paper, so let's just go into it. We have no doubt learned politics. Here we stand as firm as a rock, but things are bad as far as economic matters are concerned. Henceforth, less politics will be the best politics. Bring more engineers and agronomists to the fore, learn from them, keep an eye on their work, and turn our congresses and conferences not into propaganda meetings, but into bodies that will verify our economic achievements. Bodies in which we can really learn the business of economic development. Again, this is the kind of stuff that I'm telling you, we have to focus on. Economic development, economics. See, now, the things that when you read Lenin, you kind of pick up on, how Wazungu does his things. Like what he's reacting against. And how you react to Wazungu. So if you remember the other paper, this other paper I read, I think it was like What Is to Be Done or something like that. I read it. It's by Lenin as well. And he's talking about police brutality. He's talking about police infiltrating. He's basically talking about COINTELPRO, right? But he's in Russia, right? It's to say that the system, the capitalist system or whatever, the Wazungu system is very systematic, and it's not necessarily unique to what you're experiencing, but it's a real system that is global, international. It's in Russia. It's in England. It's in India. It's everywhere, right? What Lenin is saying is that people are coming together and they're having propaganda meetings. That's what we do too. We come together and we say, black people are the best, or melanin is so powerful, and we're true, we were the Egyptians or whatever. And they're turning this, now obviously they're not saying that in Russia, but that's what we're doing. We're doing propaganda meetings when we should really be putting engineers and agronomists to the fore. We should be learning from our engineers and agronomists. We should be keeping an eye on the work of our engineers and our agronomists, and we should turn our congresses not into propaganda meetings, but bodies that will verify our economic achievements, right? And really put forward the business of economic development. This is what we need in Africa. And Lenin is saying, hey, look, we're effing up. We're acting like those Negroes in the 2021. You know what I'm saying? We're acting like those future Negroes. We need to act like white folk. We need to act like white folk. You understand? Now, I'm not saying we need to act like white folk. What I'm telling you is that we need to get our act together. Organic African Paradigm is here. Peace to the family. He says 100% truths. Learning Curve says we have to train them, right? We have to train our people. We have to train our people. We have to train our people, and we have to get our membership up for whatever it is our political ideas are. For whatever it is, if we're trying to implement engineers and agronomists to the fore, we have to be so widespread, so paid, right? To the point where we can get engineers to do that. And you see how he says keep an eye on their work. See, because you could easily get engineers that are not in your political party. You just got to keep an eye on them. You know what I'm saying? You could get engineers from China. It don't matter. You just got to keep an eye on them. What we do is we kind of like our politicians. You got to really ask yourself, when China comes through to build a bridge, are the politicians sitting up there keeping an eye? Are they getting direct reports? Are they watching? Like, sure, I'll have anybody work for me as long as I got them on tape. You know what I mean? I have them on camera and I'm questioning them. And I got their family, you know. You know what I'm saying? Like I could exact consequences to them too. I mean, look, I'll tell you the truth. People can sabotage you. So I'm not literally would have anybody, but this is what we have to start really focusing on. We really have to focus on our economic development and academic achievement. And this is why I said, one of the things that we have to realize about the communists is that they had, hey, look at the report that they had for Garvey, right? They had this, British intelligence, right? I forgot what it's called, but there's something, British intelligence, wherever. They had this, where James Bond and them is from, right? But they had this, this thing where they were reporting on the American black movements, the black radicals in America. And they were saying that Marcus Garvey was one of two intelligent black people in America that wasn't a communist. As I say that the thing that you would pick up on if you ever get involved with any communist movement, this quote unquote Leninism, when they say Marxist Leninism, the reason why they say Marxist Leninism is because Leninism is about forming a cadre, right? Forming a small unit that is very educated, very well read. And we as African people generally, outside of the communist movement, do not have a cadre of well-read, well-studied people. You know? We do not try to practice political uniformity. We don't try to encourage political action. We kind of just say, hey, you know what? Learn your history. You know? Oh, listen to Cheikh Anta Diop, listen to Dr. Clark, listen to Dr. Ben, you know, get all their books, and so on and so forth. That is not going to liberate anybody. You know, I actually saw this graphic. I was like saying to myself, this is one of the issues with us as a people. You know, somebody was like, get all the works of these 13 scholars, right? Get all the works of these 13 scholars and then you'll be good. And it's like, that is not going to get you good. What's going to get you good, like I said, I want to do the self-help thing. What's going to get you good is this self-help routine. Well, this routine, along with, if self-help includes political parties, that's what you need to do. You need to be about economic development. You need to be about putting engineers and agronomists in the front, learning from them and keeping an eye on their work and really being about the business of economic achievements either in your communities or in your nation. You know, so that we can do this state electrification thing we're about to talk about. So he says, you will hear the report of the State Electrification Commission, which was set up in conformity with the decision of the All Russia Central Executive Committee of February 7th, 1920. Remember, they have executive committees. You don't. On February 21st, the president of the Supreme Council of the National Economy signed the final ordinance determining the composition of the commission, and a number of leading experts and workers, mainly from the Supreme Council of the National Economy, over 100 of them, and also from the People's Commissariat of Railroads and the People's Commissariat of Agriculture, are devoting their entire energy to this work. Again, they have institutions like they have organizations like People's Commissariat of Railroads, People's Commissariat of Agriculture, right? And they're putting together with the Supreme Council of the National Economy over 100 people getting together to make the whole country electrified. How many people you know could even make a one home electric? How many people you know? I'm not asking how many people there are in Africa. I'm saying how many people you know. Because if you're not organizing this, it doesn't even matter if you know them. It's like it doesn't matter what you know if you're not putting it into action. If you're not organizing it, it does not matter what you know. You understand? You know, I sometimes think about what would happen if if I was on the front line, if I was on a battle somewhere, right? And bullet goes through my head, boom, dead, right? And I like to think, hey, you know what? All this life I'm experiencing, you know, all these memories I have, all of it fades away into nothingness, right? And is that a loss for anybody, right? But no, because if it's all in my head, right? Physically, it's nothing. You understand? If you want your life to matter, if you want your life to be important, if you want to be missed, if you want to be valued for things that you've done, then you have to do things. All of us walking around have so many memories in our heads, so much knowledge, so much thinking, so much pontification, so many nights. And sure, some people you could say don't have it that deep. It doesn't even matter. What you want to do is affect some sort of change on this planet. And for you personally, you should affect it physically. You should be that change. Sure, you could say, hey, Oni, you know, but what you're telling me inspired me. That's great. So I already told it to you. Now I can just die in peace. Because you then are the real maker and changer. And you might say, hey, this is a self-critique. Yeah, it's a self-critique. And it's a critique on you too. It's a critique on you too. Some of us have to make it. Some of us have to do it. Make it be you. Make your life count. That's what I'm telling you. But let's keep going. We have before us, actually, let me see the comments, actually. I'm a Bookman says, good morning, family. Organic Africa, good morning. I'm a Bookman. Organic Apparatum says, I wish you could convert this into an audio format and add it to the Organic African Paradigms archive. Your lectures need to be put into audio format and archive each of them for the African continent. I appreciate that, brother. The issue is many people cannot watch YouTube videos due to data issues, so audio format lectures travel faster and further on the continent. Yeah, well, tell that to KWZ Radio, right? Right? I'm just joking. All right, let's see. The learning curve, but thanks you, I appreciate it. The learning curve says our intellectual class leaves the downtrodden and does not go back to help them. They go back and cherry pick sexual partners, the love marriage. Yeah, exactly. That's one of the things too. Harsh Reality Podcast says he's in rare form today, right? It's just Sunday. You know what I mean? This is the worship. And the Organic African Paradigm says there's an app called Otter. I recommend it to you. Please download it and record your lectures. All right, I could give that a try. But thanks and appreciate it. I can see about converting this stuff to audio. So anyway, check this out, guys. So, let me actually just see what. Let me just try to say what. Let me try to articulate on what Learning Curve just said. By the way, make sure you guys subscribe to all the channels here, right? Make sure you guys subscribe to all the channels here. Learning Curve says our intellectual class leaves the downtrodden. Yeah. I mean, again, because we have to focus. Like one of the issues, because I'm telling you, I'm trying to focus on this physical thing too. You know, we have to develop ourselves physically. And one of the things that if you really look into how Wazungu, the Westerners, the academy, like basically a lot of the school education system we have today is derived from the academy, from Plato and them. Plato and them were focusing on, hey, you want to have, like, the mind is better than the body. Let's not say that. You know, the mind is good. The mind is the mind is technically better than the body. But here's the thing. You don't want it to be all there is. One of the things that Plato did was he was like, no, just focus on mind entirely. Don't worry about the body. No, you have to be like the Sphinx. Okay? So the Sphinx, I forgot what it's called in the ancient language, but like Ptah Htp, something like that. But Ptah Htp. But the Sphinx is a symbol where it's a man's head over a lion's body, and it's to say that, you know, your body, you might be an animal, right? But you have your intelligence, your mind, your brain, your wisdom, your discipline, conquer that animal of you, right? Or control your animal instinct, but you're still an animal. You're not just the head. You are both, right? What the intellectual classes of today, we're all like, oh, we're just mind. We don't have to worry about our body. We could be obese. We could be out of shape. We could be this. We could be that. Doesn't matter. That doesn't mean anything. All I can contribute is that. And it kind of speaks against action. It says theory is just better than action. And it's like, you can't do that. You have to be both, which is called praxis. You have to be praxis. And if we don't do that, then it's like everything is for nothing. You know, because there's you know, all the deaths that we heard today, you know, all the deaths that we had before, you know, misgivings or whatever, you know, in America where we have these court cases that go for these people, like all those lives that were lost had something there. They're lost now. You know, they're lost now. When everybody here in this chat room, you know, come 100 years, none of us are going to be here. Right? None of us. Right? It's upon us then, but will we have an impact on 100 years? That's the question. And for you have to say to yourself, yes, I will have an impact. You know, if you can form a political party today that has an impact, that's still in existence 100 years from now, you've really accomplished something. You know, say what you want. We're here reading Lenin. We're here reading, we sometimes read Marx. We even sometimes read Garvey. But there's a reason. Like this guy Lenin right here, he's celebrated, you know, like he's just, like his gravesite in Russia is just a national monument. And not for nothing. All right, let me see. So let's go back to this. I trust you will not be scared by this little volume, right? This is like, wait, let me see. Devoting the entire energy. We have before us the result of the work of the State Commission on the Electrification of Russia in the shape of this small volume, which will be distributed to you today or tomorrow. So they wrote something and they said, hey, look, we're going to distribute it to you, right? I trust you will not be scared by this little volume. I think I shall have no difficulty in convincing you of the particular importance of this book. In my opinion, it is the second program of our party, right? We have a party program which has been excellently explained by comrades Priobazinski and Bukharin. I think Bukharin eventually became the prime minister too. I'm not too sure though. But in the form of a book which is less voluminous but extremely useful. That is the political program. It is an enumeration of our objectives, an explanation of the relation between classes and masses. So that's actually an important book to get to. An important book to read, just to say that you have to have a political program articulated. What is the political program that we, as African people in this African nationalist, Pan-African nationalist, all this, what is the political program that we are really trying to affect? What is the enumeration of our objectives? What is our explanation between the relations of the classes and masses? What is that? You know, if it's simply go read what was his name? Dr. Ben. Go read Dr. Clark. I could actually show you guys this graphic, to be honest. Go read those people. If that's our whole political program, we are not going to go anywhere. We are not going to go anywhere. You know, I could tell you that for a fact, that there's nothing in that sort of a mentality. Let me see if I can show you guys, because I saw this graphic and I thought to myself, like, I was actually, realistically speaking, going to go over that graphic instead. Let me see if I can find it though. Yeah, maybe I can't, but I gotta remember where I put it. But it's just like just this graphic that just says, hey, if you want to be learned or something, if you want to know stuff, just read all these lectures. And it's like, you're not going to go anywhere that way. And we've been doing this for years. And we don't seem to get that you're not going to go anywhere, you know? Learning Curve says mind and body must be balanced, ma'at, right? That's it. That's it. You have to balance the two. Let's go. It must, however, also be realized that the time has come to take this road in actual fact and to measure the practical results achieved. That's to say that it doesn't even matter if you, like, that's what I'm saying. He's like, look, we could have a book on theory. It's incredibly important. It's not that, so on and so forth, but we have to take the road we keep talking about. We keep talking about the path forward. We have to walk that path. We have to measure the practical results. Because that's why a lot of times people would ask me, hey, what would you do in this situation? And I say, look, it's not about what I would do. Because I'm probably going to be dead. You understand? I'm not going to be able to do anything when I'm dead. I mean, outside of, let's say, spiritual movements or ancestral, outside of that possibility, right? There's nothing I'm going to do when I'm dead. If you say, hey man, what are you going to do in the future if we have this Pan-African Federation and then West Africa decides to break off from East Africa, right? Like, I'm not going to be there. We don't even have that Pan-African Federation. What we have to focus on is putting our children on that road so that, and then giving them that political education so that when that situation comes, when a civil war comes in a Pan-African Federation, they will handle it. And we have to articulate unity as we see fit, but we have to realize that it's all in practice. It's all in practice, and you could be wrong, and that's fine. But you should be in the position to be wrong. Right now, you're not even in the position to be wrong. It's like when we talk about how America messed up on its its response to this pandemic, right? America at least was in the position to mess up. Now, did it mess up? Sure. Did it have a stupid plan and execute a stupid plan? Absolutely. But that's what it's about. You first have a plan. It might be dumb, but here's the issue with us as a people. That we sitting back on our hands while they planning. We sitting back on our hands while they practicing. And then we're like, hey, yeah, your plan sucks. But like, what would be like? But regardless of what we think would be a better plan, we're not enacting it. We're not enacting it. We can't enact it because we decided we're not going to focus on getting power. And that's why I tell you, look, you have to focus on getting power. So he says, our party program must not remain solely a program of the party. It must become a program of our economic development, or otherwise it'll be valueless even as a program of the party. Because you have to pay people. You have to pay people. You have to make people, you have to keep people alive. You know? You have to keep people alive. I should say it again, to be honest, but it must be supplemented with a second party program, a plan of work aimed at restoring our entire economy and raising it to the level of up-to-date technical development. This is not something we're talking about in Africa. This is something that he was talking about in Russia 100 years ago. And you got to remember that the interesting thing about Russia was that, see, Marxism was not supposed to be for Russia. Marxism was supposed to be for England, because England was a modern industrial economy, right? Russia at the time was a feudal backwater economy, right? It wasn't supposed to work in a feudal backwater economy. A lot of Africa today is feudal backwater economy. So what you see regarding what happened, what worked in Russia could work in Africa. Now, obviously, there are human costs to this sort of program, and you don't have to mirror this exact program. But you have to pay attention and understand that if you're looking to bring up Africa into an up-to-date technical development and restore its entire economy, you have to seriously plan and put things together to make it work. And we're not doing that. Again, we're not, like, the political party that I belong to has a membership of 0. You understand? Has a membership of 0 because I'm not in a political party. Right? If you are not in a political party, your political party has a membership of 0. So you might have a political platform, you might have political objectives, you might have so and so. But if you are not in a political party, that will mean nothing. And if somebody puts a bullet through your head, you might say, hey, look, that's a genius loss. You know, that's a brilliant mind loss. That's a thinker. That's a reader. That's somebody who read all these books. You did all these things. You accomplished all these things. It doesn't matter in the course of human history, as humanity marches forward in centuries, you know, as humanity marches forward millennia, if you do not have this political party and really impact some sort of locality, wherever, it will not matter. None of us are talking about the intellectual laws of all these hashtags that we see before Black Lives Matter. None of us are talking about the intellectual laws. None of us. You know, I don't want to say their names because that might be a little bit disrespectful, but nobody is talking about the intellectual loss of any of them. And yet they were equal intellects to all of us. Equal intellects to Lenin. Equal intellects to Marx. Equal. But nobody says, hey, you know what? We lost an intellectual because they weren't a part of a political party. Well, not just that, but, you know, I'm just saying that just to emphasize and stress, we have to be about this, right? So without a plan of electrification, we cannot undertake any real constructive work. Listen. Because, see, this is one of the things that, I posted this a long time ago, and I wanted to do this a long time ago. So it's not like I'm doing this in response to any sort of conversation that was recently done, but there was a conversation recently on Twitter about, hey, you know, the Amish, the Amish are socialists. You know, the Amish are socialists, and so forth. And I said, look, you know, like socialism and communism are about the masses controlling the means of production. Okay? The public controlling, the state controlling the means of production. If you are not a productive people, if you do not have factories, means of production are the factories, if you don't have the factories and all that kind of stuff, you're not really a socialist or a communist. You might have primitive communism in a sense, but you do not have like technical, you know, industrial, scientific communism, right? And one of the most important things about this is this idea of electrification, right? Because see, if you really get into it, right? The capitalists are not going to industrialize a whole nation. They're going to industrialize cities. They're not going to electrify a whole nation. They're going to electrify cities. They're going to electrify ports. They're going to electrify main trading hubs. And what the socialists are saying is that, no, we're going to give every people electricity. And that's actually in line with what you want. And here's another thing that you want to understand too, is that they're not going to buy the electricity from other people. Because see, what you're doing right now is you're buying the electricity from other people. They're not going to buy the electricity from other people. They are going to they're going to build the factories or build the power plants to make electricity available to their whole population. And that's really, really important, really critical, and something that I think, is actually something valuable that we could also do. Now, we could do it with green energy, obviously. We could do solar power plants along the Sahara. And if you remember Cheikh Anta Diop's work on, I think, United Africa, he does discuss an actual power plant, an actual solar power plant in a Sahara desert that some other people have set up as an experiment. And it's saying that, yeah, we can do that same thing. But until we seriously say, let's do this, forget it. So Learning Curve says, knowing things means nothing if you don't do something. Faith without works is dead. Now, I think faith without works is dead is something that is, I think that's like some biblical reference. And that's what I'm saying. That's why when we talk about these religious things, that they are worship. They are books of war. They are books of war. I did not read them because I don't need to. But I did remember hearing somebody, because I think I was talking to some brother, and he was like, he was reading this thing because one of the things with Islam in particular was Muhammad was fighting larger forces. And he was describing how he beat larger people with his little ragtag group. How he set people against each other with his little ragtag group. That's a very important, very critical aspect. And you realize that a lot of times, like for instance, you have this Trojan horse story that comes through, in the West, in Western living. You hear this Trojan horse style. That is not a real story as much as it's a older military story. Like it happened somewhere else and it was just passed down militarily. A lot of these biblical or religious stories are sometimes their knowledge passed down from older people on how to enact war. Sometimes it's these people themselves enacting war and telling you how they can be victorious because they're trying to teach their people worship. Okay? They're trying to teach their people worship. So you don't look at it as worship, right? You look at it as worship. And that's what this right here, this program is about too, right? But anyway, so you see electrification. Let's say, without a plan, we undertake any real constructive work. But again, read this again. Without a plan of electrification, we cannot undertake any real constructive work. I mean, I'm not going to just quote this guy word for word, but I'm telling you, this is something that we have to communicate to our people everywhere. Without a plan of electrification, and the thing is this, you don't want to buy the electricity. But you're not going to make an airport without electricity. Okay? You're not going to make a beverage store without electricity per se. Right? Or a beverage distillery or whatever without electricity. You're not going to make like there's a lot of things you're not going to do. Now you can, make an olive press. You can make a wine yard or whatever. You could do things with manual human labor, but when we're talking about serious, like driving tractors for deep agriculture, you're talking about electricity. So he says, when we discuss the restoration of agriculture, industry, and transport, and their harmonious coordination, we are obliged to discuss a broad economic plan. Remember, you want these things to be in harmony with each other. The industry, the agriculture, the transport. We must adopt a definite plan. Of course, it will be a plan adopted as a first approximation. See, and this is what I'm saying. It's not, you don't say, like, he's like, look, you just give people a program. You don't say, this is what's going to happen. You're loose. You're very loose. This is what real management is about. This is why you have to have leaders who are alive. I spoke about this earlier today, too. A lot of times when we talk about leaders, right? Like, we all, like sometimes sit down, like, I used to sit down on the bus and, not sit down on the bus, but I was riding the bus in, New York or Brooklyn or whatever. And this lady was like, oh man, I wish Malcolm or Martin came back, right? And it's like, no, people are not going to come back. You can't keep looking at people. You can't big people up after they pass. You have to say leadership is a living experience in the moment, because sometimes the industry is something bad is going to happen to the industry. Or something bad is going to happen to agriculture. Like, for instance, I could easily say, hey, we're going to build carrots. We're going to make carrots all the time. Carrots, right? And then it comes to find out there's this, let's say another country is just making more carrots, right? Or making better carrots, whatever, sweeter carrots, who knows, right? then I have to, as a nation, adapt to this environment. And you can't just write it down in paper, we're going to make carrots. You have to adapt to this and say, actually, you know what? It turns out rhubarb is a better thing for us to do right now. It's going to give us more profit. It's going to do better for us. And that's what we're going to have to make that decision on. And it might be that rhubarb and onions and cabbage are the three things that are the three options. And you need somebody to choose one or choose how to distribute it. The reality is that you have to engage the situations in a living and lived manner. That's it. You can't just, just like regarding this, like Lenin writes this thing in 1920, right? There's no internet then. But if he just says, hey, look, we're just going to do this program, we're going to follow this program, and this is it, right, so on and so forth. When the internet comes out, they're going to say, well, what do we do? And they're going to have nothing to do with it. They're going to say, well, it's not a part of the program. You have to be flexible, and what happens is that humans are more flexible than writing. The thing with writing is that it's very inflexible. Once you wrote it, it's done. Right? Humans are much more flexible. So you need human leadership. Because I think there was a conversation yesterday on the Bit of Medicine podcast. So make sure you guys check out Bit of Medicine podcast and his Shoot the Breeze. But there was a conversation about, well, do we need a code or do we need leaders? And, D-Web from the Harsh Reality podcast, he said, you have to have the leaders. And it's like, that's what it is. Every other people have leaders. Every other people have leaders. And it's like a code is all well and good. You do want some sort of discipline. You do want some sort of uniformity among your leaders and among your codes, so on and so forth. Among your people. But you have to have a leader. When Russia was sending nuclear armaments to Cuba or whatever, right? Their leader had to make a choice. There's nothing in the books, there's nothing in the papers for it. The leader of America had to make a choice. The leader of Russia had to make a choice. Right? Because they were ready. They were both ready to, all right, let's see what's going on. They played chicken with each other. Right? They had to make a choice. You have to be in that position. And you know where we were? While these two were aiming at each other, nuclear armaments, saying, hey, look, we're going to nuke your satellite here. We're going to nuke this part. We're going to nuke, this place in America. We're going to nuke this place in Europe. We're going to nuke this place in Africa. We're going to nuke this place in Asia. While they were deciding on how to attack different places, and especially attack places in Africa. Where were we? While they were having this conversation, when England calls up Germany, where England calls up Russia, calls up America, where America calls up England, where America calls up France, like, yo, you got me? You gonna aim some stuff this way? And Russia's calling up Japan, and Russia's calling up Germany, and Russia's calling up, and they're all like, yeah, Russia's calling up China, like, all right, so look, it's going down. Like, this is the end, right? You know where African people were? Same place you are right now. Like, you wasn't on the phone. You know what I'm saying? Like, you were on the phone. Nobody was calling you. Nobody was calling you, and that's a problem. That's a problem. But we're going to keep going. So he says, we adopt a definite plan, of course. Plan is a first approximation. This party program will not be as invariable as our real party program is, which can be modified by party congresses alone. No, day by day, this program will be improved, elaborated, perfected, and modified in every workshop and every vola. So you see what he says. He's like, look, our party program might be you might not be able to modify it without the Congress's approval. Okay? So you like the U.S. Constitution. U.S. Constitution is very difficult to modify, right? But they're saying, hey, look, when we're talking about making our economic plans, developing our economy, we're going to improve, elaborate, perfect, and modify it every damn day. Every day we're going to try to be better than yesterday. And that's something you should believe for your own self. Every day try to be better than yesterday. But we need it as a first draft, which will be submitted to the whole of Russia as a great economic plan designed for a period of not less than 10 years and indicating how Russia is to be placed on a real economic basis required for communism. Again, 10-year plan. What was one of the most powerful incentives that multiplied our strengths and our energies to a tremendous degree when we fought and won on the war front? It was the realization of danger Everybody asked whether it was possible that the landowners and capitalists might return to Russia, and the reply was that it was. We therefore multiplied our effort 100-fold, and we were victorious. So what he's saying is this: when they see, because again, they fought for their land. I want you to understand. Like, I'm telling you this. I'll be honest with you guys. So I was supposed to read 3 books this month. I read 1 in front of you guys. It was easy, right? I liked it. I liked the Conscientiousness by Nkrumah. It was good, right? I was supposed to read Marcus Garvey's Philosophy and Opinions of Philosophy and Marcus Garvey, Volume 3, and The Wealth of Nation. I said to myself, I'm just going to focus on Philosophy and Opinion by Marcus Garvey. It's difficult for me to read it because I identify as a Garveyite. You know, a lot of you listening identify as a Garveyite, right? What Garvey's talking about in this section that I slowed down because I was like, should I read this to you guys? But it's a little too long, right? But I said, like this one particular chapter, he's doing an appeal to the United Nations, to the League of Nations. He's like, League of Nations, you guys say you're Christian and you're nice and you're good, but you should give us a nation, because if you give us a nation, we're going to, like, we can really handle it. We were westernized, we're good. And I'm just like, no. You know, like, I can't, like, I'm a Garveyite, okay? But I would not, like, I'm saying to myself, I probably would not sit by with that. You know? You don't ask foreigners for your nation. The Russians didn't ask, the Taliban didn't ask. You understand? What you do is you take your nation. And this is what Lenin did. This is why Marcus Garvey himself is like, Lenin was a great revolutionary. When Lenin died, he was like, yeah, Lenin was a great revolutionary. For what it's worth. Yeah, he was like, he might be like the greatest white man, of his time. You understand? Because he went to the war front and fought for his nation. And yes, the capitalists and the landowners were bound to come back to Russia, but they kept them off because they not just realized the danger of that, but they gave people an actual better opportunity. And this is what we have to say to ourselves too, because like I said, I think about it. Hey, what if I'm on the war front? I'm on the war front. I'm there with you guys, right, in the front lines, right? There's no protection for me there. And you might say, hey, man, but no, maybe you should be in the back line, or maybe you should be, in the general box. No. Because if we don't get this land, our people will be enslaved in 100 years. And not necessarily slave like so and so. I mean, the condition that you have now might be the same condition you have in 100 years, and probably worse. Probably worse. So we have to have all hands on deck. And if you're not going to fight, then sure enough, yeah, I will. You know what I mean? I know some people are like, hey, I don't want you fighting on it. You're an old man. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're an old man. There's younger bodies. Yeah. Africa's a young nation. I just heard the median age was 18. Median age is 18. Half of Africa is less than 18. Young nation. And what do we have for them? They all want electricity. They all want the internet, right? What do we have for them? And not all of them, maybe 90%. But point is, we have to really be serious about this, right? We have to be really, really serious about this. Let me see if there's any comments. Yeah, okay. So Learning Curve says Spain and Portugal were felled in 5 years. Yup. Organic African Nation says League of Nations for a nation. Yeah, they're not doing that. Exactly. Appealing to the conscience of Eurasians exhausted. Yeah, I tell you, I'm reading this and I'm just like, I can't. Learning Curve says they're not going to give it to you. You have to take it and defend what you've taken. Absolutely. That's what the Bolsheviks did. I really have to, like, let me look up how many members the Bolsheviks had. And this was back when, because you might need more than this. Bolsheviks, how many Bolsheviks? I can't. This is it's called the Russian Revolution, right? How many Bolsheviks before the revolution? And it's like, even the guy, nobody, okay, 20, okay, so it said the Bolsheviks were limited to only 20,000 members in February 1917, but they were 200,000 members of the Bolshevik faction in September 1917, which not really all that much. But especially for that particular time, right? But they still had 24,000. That's much more than zero. Much more than zero. Like infinitely more than zero. Even if you said to yourself you have a political party of one person. Even if you said you have a political party of 3 people. Right? Even if you had a political party of 12, 10, 12, 20 people. 24,000. 200,000. You're not hearing me. You're not hearing me. Let's see. Our organic African paradigm says, I don't recommend that strategy ever again to the African people globally. Yeah, never. That's what I'm saying. It's hard for me to read it because I'm just like seriously. You know, like I'm saying to myself, the League of Nations wouldn't have even read his document. Like, the only reason why they would have read his document is because he's Marcus Garvey. But even then, they're just kind of like rolling their eyes like, what is he saying? Why is he saying this to us? Why is he appealing to us to give him the wealth of Africa? Why would we even think of that? Like, why does he think why does he think that we are like that? That anybody's like that? You know, it's like, okay, let me just use one of you. All right, let's use Bit of Medicine because he's a good brother, right? But Bit of Medicine has his house, right? I can't go to Bit of Medicine. Like, there's no letter I could write to Bit of Medicine for him to give me his house. Like, there's no letter on this planet. Like, I'm a good writer, you know, and I could gas up this brother. You know, I could be like, hey, you're a nice guy. You're blah 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 blah. There's no letter I can write to him where he's like, yeah, I'm gonna give you my house. Like if they have Africa, you can't appeal to them. The only way, and so I'm not gonna say how you could get Bit house, but you know, there's ways. There are ways, but none of it is a letter, and that's what we have to understand. This is 2 black people. Imagine you're a black person, weak black group, and you're talking to this white boy, and you're even telling this white boy you're a weak black group. Organic African Paradigm says that Afghanistan goat herders actually took what was theirs. Why should we do any different? Exactly. And Organic African Paradigm does have this really in-depth discussion on Afghani. So, like, that's what I heard too. I listened to that and I was like, yeah, okay, I understand. Because I don't really know much about Afghani, so I appreciate that as well. Sorry, so he says, take the economic front and ask whether capitalism can be restored economically in Russia. We have combated the Sukharevka black market. The other day, just prior to the opening of the All-Russia Congress of Soviets, this not very pleasant institution was closed down by the Moscow Soviet of Workers and Red Army deputies. Right? Applause. The Sukharevka black market has been closed, but it's not the market that is so sinister. The old I can't say this word. Sukharevka market on Sukharev Square has been closed down, an act that presented no difficulty. The sinister thing is that Sukharevka that resides in the heart and behavior of any petty proprietor. This is the Sukharevka that must be closed down. See, he's saying, look, in everybody's heart, like essentially the petty bourgeoisie or the capitalists, the economy of the past, the old economy is still going to exist in Africans. You know, earlier today, in fact, one of the brothers on the Discord, well, I think he changed his name, right? But he was talking about like the Cultural Revolution and the Soviet Revolution, the Cultural Revolution in Russia and the Cultural Revolution in China, and how yes, they did kill the people who were like essentially the capitalists, the reactionaries. And, you know, Nkrumah, you know, you guys remember Nkrumah was talking about that as well. He was like, hey, look, we got to reduce the reactionaries and increase the revolutionaries. Now, you don't have to necessarily kill these people, right? And, I mean, there is a particular African leader, I can't remember what was his name, per se, because there's so many. But one of them who did kill the market ladies for some reason, right? And, you know, I mean, obviously when you say market ladies, it sounds a lot worse, right? But, you know, one of the issues is that when you try to enact change in Africa, you have to be pretty damn good. You have to have a really good agenda because people are going to want to continue their way of living. I might tell you this, for instance. I might tell you, hey, look, we open up a factory in Ghana. We open up a factory in Ghana and you could go work in that factory. Okay? Or I could even say, hey, we open up a store in Ghana, and you could go work in that store. But there are still going to be people who say, you know what, I actually want to sell these art pieces to tourists in this park. I still want to do that. Notwithstanding the job opportunities you just opened up, I still want to do this sort of thing. And the trouble is this, right? That if I'm trying to change the economy towards people being productive, towards electricity being produced, towards manufactured goods being produced, towards this kind of stuff, and other people are like, hey, you know what, I still want to just sit outside my house. I don't give a crap. I just want to sell these candies that I got from foreigners, right? Because like I can actually tell you guys this. In fact, there was this sister, nice, like she had a nice daughter, like a nice lady, right? The girl was like a nice lady, right? So I wanted to patronize her, so I could help out, right? And she's just selling wafers, like wafers from like some, I don't know, maybe like Belarus or something, right? She's just selling these wafers that she buys probably wholesale, maybe even retail, and just reselling it for small, tiny profit, right? That, like, like a CD, which is like 17 cents or 20 cents. She's selling this thing outside of her home, outside of her family home. She's probably going to keep doing that because she can manage that. She can manage that. Now, if I make it difficult for her in a political position, if we as we as a political organization, we say, yeah, okay, like for instance, we say, yeah, we're not going to get any more of these stupid wafers from Belarus. She's going to not like us for that. She's going to protest for that because she's been living, bear in mind, she's been living for 20 years doing the same crap, doing nothing, just sitting outside of her house and selling wafers that she buys cheap from the store. She's been doing that for 20 years. She could do that for 20 years. It would be perfectly fine for her. The trouble is this, she's not producing any energy. You understand? She's not producing any energy, and it's costing us as a nation to keep trading for wafers when we could be making our own wafers. And see, another thing is this, we might make our own wafers and it might be too expensive when we start making our own wafers. It's politics is a really complicated game that's going to disappoint people. Now, are you going to kill some people? Maybe not, but if they're protesting and stopping up, like what happened with the market women, I believe, was that they were protesting and stopping traffic and so on and so forth. And I think maybe they were fighting or throwing rocks or whatever. I don't know per se, because I didn't really, it's like this happened 50, 60 years ago. I don't know. But the point being that when you really, it's really going to be, your perspective is going to be based off of where you are. So, whereas we right now, we're on the bottom, and we're like, yeah, if I want to protest that I can't sell, market goods from other countries, right? And you're impeding that because you want to develop our economy, or not you're not going to understand it. You're going to be like, hey, look, I've been living this way forever, and I want to continue living this way forever, right? You're going to protest that, but if the main story I want to let you know is that you have to be ready. And you have to really be good with it. You have to really be good with it because you're probably, if you're not careful, you're going to step on somebody's toe. Or you might step on too many toes. And then you're going to have a fight on your hand. And then your legacy is going to be that you arrested market ladies. Or your legacy is going to be that you had a road blockage on every one of your roads. Terrible traffic. And because you said, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to hurt nobody. I'm not going to arrest anybody. I'm not going to kill anybody. If they want to protest, they want to block roads, they can do it. We just won't have any roads. And then you're going to have people starving somewhere because you no longer have trucks moving, right? Or you're going to have an extreme cost because you're flying things everywhere, right? It's a very complicated game. Politics is a very complicated game. I want you to understand that. So, and again, the beliefs of other people, the beliefs of people are in their hearts and behavior. You can close up physical location, but the people are going to remember these things. And they're going to hold it against you. So this is the Sukareva that must be shut down. So this is what political education is really about. Like I tell you, political education is really, really, really about that economic education. So that means that I'm going to go to that lady who sells the stupid wafers, right? I shouldn't say that. She's a nice lady. Well, I'm going to go to the lady who sells the wafers, and I'm going to say, look, there's a more productive way for you. right? Because if you do this instead of that, if you sell these candies instead of those other candies, the candies that we produce, right? Your daughter can have a future. And then so now when she starts selling those other wafers, she might not even make as much money as she did before, but she does it proudly, or she might make more money, who knows? But she does it proudly, and she does not protest, so that I don't have to arrest anybody, I don't have to kill anybody, or I don't have to have a road blockage, or whatever it is, And again, not to say that I want to arrest or kill anybody, but I'm just letting you guys know that, realistically speaking, this is what happens in human communities, right? So, all right, let's just go. Bit of Medicine says none, like it's to say that, yeah, there's no damn way I'm going to get his house. Damn it, yo. I really thought, shit. All right. And, all right, so the Learning Curve says, begging for what you need and working for what you want is childish and backwards. Stop begging for what you need. Yeah. All right, so the Sukar Africa is the basis of capitalism. Okay? While it exists, the capitalists may return to Russia and may grow stronger than we are. That must be clearly realized. It must serve. And see, that's what I'm saying. You got to worry about the other people. Because that's what I'm saying. You have to worry about the other people becoming stronger than you. He's still, again, he has 24,000 people. 24,000 members or 200,000 members, right? In a country of millions. If you piss off 700,000 people, right? They are now stronger than you. Or not necessarily stronger than you, but they can rally the people against you. And then you're going to come into a situation where the 700,000 people are going to organize a war against you. That's what you really want to avoid. Because now, here's this. You might say, okay, well, it's okay. I'm not going to do anything about these protesters. I'm not going to do anything about these reactionaries. Sure. You say you don't want to do anything. They then say, what we're going to do is we're going to do war against you. And when they do a war against you, not only are they going to butcher and kill every one of you, right? All 200,000 of you. They're going to butcher and kill all 200,000 of you, but everything that you try to enact, every positive thing that you try to do, they're going to dismantle and hand it over to your enemy. So the electrical plant that you just made, they're going to break it down, tear it down, maybe even sell it to the foreigners, and then they're going to go and buy the electricity from the foreigners, and then you got screwed over because you were like, hey, look, I'm a humanitarian, I'm humane, I'm not going to do anything, and that's fine. But understand that there's a cost, there's a cost for everything. There's this ancient, well, I don't want to say it's an ancient proverb, but there's this idea from Kemet, and you got to go back to it. And this is, let me see if I can find it. It says, man must learn to increase his sense of responsibility and of the fact that everything he does will have its consequences. Everything you do and don't do will have its consequences. You are responsible. You have responsibilities. Okay? You have responsibilities, and everything that you do or don't do will have consequences. Even the humane route will have its consequences, which is good. I mean, it's good to be humane, obviously. But even that will have its consequences, believe it or not. Because once the reactionaries form, it's kind of like this. It's kind of like America, right? America does this COINTELPRO to stop the black revolutionary movement, right? The black movement does not grow that big in America. But the reason why it doesn't grow that big in America is because America had COINTELPRO. If America said, you know what, we're going to let these black folk do whatever they want, say whatever they want, be however they want, yes, America will have problems. You understand? Because a lot of black, a lot of black Americans would fight America if America was not fighting them. And so, you're not going to, you never want to, as a black person, side with America, because you don't side with America. But you have to understand what it is with power. Power tries to hold on to itself. And power does what it does in order to hold on to itself, because if it doesn't, right, it's gone. If these white Americans did not stop these black Americans, they would not have this nation anymore. It would not be what we have today. And I mean, we might say, hey, that's a good thing, but the white Americans will not say that's a good thing. You understand? So, this is part of what subjugation is. And it's not that you agree with subjugation. It's just that you understand that there are consequences to every action and inaction. There are consequences. And you just have to understand that. The Super Africans, so far, while exist, the capitalists may begin and grow stronger than we are. That must be clearly realized. It must serve as a mainspring of our work and as a condition and yardstick of our real success. While we live in a small peasant country, there is a firm economic basis for capitalism in Russia. There's a firmer economic basis for capitalism in Russia than for communism. That must be borne in mind. Anyone who has carefully observed life in the countryside as compared with life in the cities knows that we have not torn up the roots of capitalism and have not undermined the foundation, the basis of the internal enemy. The latter depends on small-scale production, and there is only one way of undermining it, namely to place the economy of the country, including agriculture, on a new technical basis, that of modern large-scale production. Only electricity provides that basis. Again, only electricity provides the basis for modern large-scale production. Right now, what they had, right then, they had small-scale production, right? And so they had, like, capitalism was the natural thing. What they said to themselves is this: look, if we're really studying our problem, if we really want to go on this large scale, not this individualist, but this group mentality, then we have to have electricity. And again, I think we as African people today need to start emphasizing electricity more and more. All right? We're going to keep going. Communism is Soviet power plus the electrification of the whole country. So again, Soviet power is like workers' councils. I don't know if he's going to describe it, but basically he's saying that you have community control. You have control in the communities, right? So the people in the local communities, they have their political and economic control of their communities, as opposed to mayors and so on and so forth, mayors and governors and all that kind of stuff. You have the Soviet, which is the workers themselves. The workers are the ones that have the political control. So he's like, communism is Soviet power plus the electrification of the whole country. Everybody must have electricity. He's like, otherwise, the country will remain a small peasant country, and we must clearly realize that. We are weaker than capitalism, not only on the world scale, but also within the country. Understand that. Even in Africa, you are weaker than capitalism. You are weaker than mercantilism. Okay, you have to make the conditions. You have to have the electricity, is what he said. That is common knowledge. We have realized it, and we shall see to it that the economic basis is transformed from a small peasant basis into a large-scale industrial basis. Like kind of like how we're like we shouldn't have these. We have a lot of subsistence farming. We have a lot of subsistence farming. We do not have large-scale commercial industrial farming. We don't have that. Only when the country has been electrified and industry, agriculture, and transport have been placed on the technical basis of modern large-scale industry, only then shall we be fully victorious. And this is why I was saying that the Amish, this is the Amish. The Amish are small peasants. Okay? They're not large-scale. This is why you don't say the Amish are socialists. This is why you don't even say that Africa is socialist. You say, look, we're trying to, and this is why a lot of the socialist leaders, because I used to disagree with this a little bit. I used to be like, why are we trying to industrialize? Why don't we, so on and so forth. But like, yeah, you want to industrialize. Because again, when you go to Africa, this is Machiavelli, right? When you go to Africa, you realize that people want, like everybody's driving a car. Everybody's driving a car.
Not everybody.
All right, most people are driving, like there's traffic. Okay, there's traffic there, and that's something. If you're not producing these vehicles, right? Like if you don't have electricity, you can't produce cars. You know what I'm saying? If you don't have electricity, you can't do these stoplights. If you don't have electricity, you can't. A lot of the things that we seek to do for our people, right, is rooted in electricity. Right? And don't even talk about the villages. I didn't get to go to the villages, but again, one of the critiques that we had on that somebody used to do on the leader of one of these countries was that only certain cities were electrified, right? Only certain communities were electrified, and maybe the whole country, the whole country, maybe like 20% of people had electricity, right? And that's like, yeah, but this is why what what Lenin is saying is that you have to electrify the whole country. That is a political focus. That's where the cost of the community is going to go. Because if you're not even electrifying in your community, which remember, a lot of Africa is buying their electricity, right? If you're not even electrifying your community, you then have to negotiate with other people for your people's livelihood. You know, it's like they said that one of these African leaders were trying to launch a satellite
Name
so
names.
that they could have internet. You said what?
Name names.
Nah.
Oh, you scared?
You said what?
You scary now?
Am I scary or scared?
You.
Yeah, no, you don't have to name names because you're gonna yeah. But as I said, Nigerian.
Oh, they don't even have electricity. How they gonna even know? You said it.
No. The leaders have like Africa has leaders. Has electricity. It's just that the point being that you want
Honestly,
to.
I know that, bro. It's a joke.
You said what?
I know it's a joke.
Okay. Yeah. The point is that you want electricity, but you want to build your own electricity, and that's what Lenin is really focusing on. Because you could always get electricity from other people, but when you do that, now you have to give these other people something, right? And if electricity is really needed in your community, right, then they're gonna have to give them something they really need. You understand? And when you're giving other people something they really need, you end up being screwed over because the electricity should be something basic that you should do, that you produce for yourself. You know, it's like people can exploit you when you need something from them. Okay, people can exploit you when you need something from them, because suddenly now you have to work especially hard because your people now are going to demand that you give them whatever they want. You understand? So that's why you have to be able to do things independently. Otherwise, you will be dependent. So what Lenin is promoting right here is that independence that we don't even have today. You know? So he says, we already drawn up a preliminary plan for the electrification of the country. 200 of our best, look at that, 200 of our best scientific and technical men have worked on it. We have a plan which gives us estimates of materials and finances covering a long period of years, not less than a decade. This plan indicates how many million barrels of cement and how many million bricks we shall require for the purpose of electrification. To accomplish the task of electrification from the financial point of view, the estimates are between 1,000 and 1,200 million gold rubles. You know that we are far from being able to meet this sum from our gold reserves, right? They have gold reserves. Our stock of foodstuffs is not very large either. We must therefore meet the expenditure indicated in these estimates by means of concessions. In accordance with the plan I have mentioned, you will see the calculations showing how the restoration of our industry and our transport is being planned on this basis. You see what I'm saying? He has 200 people coming together saying, how can we, in the least expensive way, right, make for our whole country to be electrified. This is something that America didn't have. Not in 1920. Not even today. But this is something that the communists, for what it's worth, are saying, hey, look, everywhere in Russia will have electricity, right? But it's going to cost us, right? And this is why you talk about building up your economy, because it's like, it's going to cost you. You're going to need these barrels of cement. You're going to need these bricks. And you might say, well, why do we need to pay for cement?
What type of bricks?
Pay for bricks, right? Bricks for the purpose of electrification, right?
I thought you were the mother bricks.
Nah, you don't need bricks for that. But right, Nigerian or Zulu, right?
It's terrible.
But like it says, you need because the thing is this: if people are gonna make bricks or they're gonna make cement, whatever, you're gonna have to pay them. You know, or if they're gonna have the material in front of them, you're gonna have to transport the material to where you can process the cement and then transport that material from there to whatever location is required to put up this sort of stuff. This is going to cost people. You have to, and this is the difference between what we do and what they did. See, because we don't talk about costs. We don't talk about paying people. We talk about, hey, yeah, Africa needs to read and write. Oh, you need to read this book, or you need to do this book, or you need to listen to this lecture, right? We don't talk about the costs behind really seriously electrifying or bringing things to our people. We talk about, a lot of times, for instance, inside this quote-unquote conscious movement, we talk about people giving to us, like, why don't you give us stuff? Or why didn't you help us when we were down and blah, blah, blah. Everything, like, there's a financial cost. Like I said, there's an economic consequence to doing good works on this world. This is why I tell you, one, build up your economy. Because again, this is when he says 1,000 to 1,200 million gold rubles, he's talking about 1 billion to 1,200 million gold.
$1920.
In $1920. No, 1920 rubles, right? That's not,
rubles, whatever.
That's the thing that Zelda collects. No, I'm joking.
Hysterical.
It does though, right? Oh, it's rubles or something. I don't know. But seriously,
We know what you be doing on your free time.
What, Zelda?
Yeah.
That's from when I was like 5, right? Like I did that free time when I was 5. All right. So, but you get what I'm saying though. It's like, there's cost for this stuff, and if we're really serious about doing this stuff, we have to say, look, I'm gonna build up my freaking own economy. I'm going to build up economy of a community. And then with that economy of the community, we're going to get these bricks, we're going to get this cement, and we're going to get electrification in this community. We're going to provide the electricity for our people. Because our people are driving cars right now, have traffic jams. They're going to get this oil from somewhere. And a lot of times they're buying it. They're sitting on oil fields. Well, not literally, not everybody's sitting on an oil field. But what I'm saying is that there's oil that we could refine. And I mean, obviously there's that Dangote, we talked about that before. But outside of that, we're talking about huge oil reserves, but we're still buying oil from somewhere else. We're talking about, the Aswan Dam in Ethiopia, and other countries are trying to sabotage that. Other countries are trying to sabotage that, even though this dam could provide energy for more people. We're talking about
half the region over there, basically.
Exactly. We're talking about the dam in the Congo, one of the most powerful waterfalls on the planet, right? If not the most, right? And it's in a war-torn region. We don't have peace there, so we can't even use it. We have to be serious because, and then the question becomes this: if you want to use that powerful waterfall in the Congo, what is the cost behind it? Because we talk about it. We're like, hey, you know what? If only we built a dam there. Okay, what's the cost? What's the cost of having peace in that region? How many soldiers do you need to enforce peace in that region?
A damn lie.
What do you mean a damn lie?
Get it? A damn lie.
All right. So
you talking about damn, so it's a damn lot of money.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, a damn lot. Okay. I think it's a damn lot. Okay. Yeah, we do need a damn lot, I guess. Tough crowd, right? Anyway, look, I recently had occasion to attend a peasant festival here in Volokamalamsk.
What you doing in Volokamalamsk?
Uyazd, right? Exactly. A remote part of Moscow, Gubernia, where the peasants have electric lighting. A meeting was arranged in the street, and one of the peasants came forward and began to make a speech welcoming this new event in the lives of the peasants. We peasants were unenlightened. He's as lame as you, man.
You laugh though.
Whoa! I'm surprised you a time traveler or something. You a damn time traveler. Anyway, we peasants were unenlightened. He said, and now light has appeared among us, an unnatural light which will light up our peasant darkness. For my part, these words did not surprise me. Of course, to the non-party peasant masses, electric light is an unnatural light. But what we consider unnatural is that the peasants and workers should have lived for hundreds and thousands of years in such backwardness, poverty, and oppression under the yoke of the landowners and capitalists. You cannot emerge from this darkness very rapidly. What we must now try is to convert every electric power station we build into a stronghold of enlightenment to be used to make the masses electricity conscious, so to speak. All should be made aware of the reason why these small electric power stations, whose numbers run into the dozens, are linked up with the restoration of industry. We have an established plan of electrification, but the fulfillment of this plan is designed to cover a number of years. We must fulfill this plan at all costs, and the period of its fulfillment must be reduced. Here we must have the same thing as was the case with one of our first economic plans, the plan for the restoration of Transport Order number 1042, which was designed to cover a period of 5 years, but has now been reduced to 3.5 years because we are ahead of the schedule. To carry out the electrification plan, we must need a period of 10 or 20 years to effect the changes that will preclude any return to capitalism. This will be an example of rapid social development without precedent anywhere in the world. The plan must be carried out at all costs and its deadline brought nearer. So he says, rapid social development without precedent anywhere around the world. Remember, when you have electricity means that you can have instantaneous communication between two different locations. Well, not instantaneous, but light speed, which is light speed, which is pretty damn like the fastest thing on the universe. You know what I mean? like you have the fastest the fastest thing outside of tachyon, right? Anyway, but the point being that you that's funny. Come on, all right, but
really.
But the point being that you have light speed communication. Okay, you have light speed communication anywhere. Right? As opposed to what you have now, which is that you will have places what you had then right there, or even places right now in Africa where they will have no communication with anywhere outside of that little community. And so anybody can go in and manipulate and control and sabotage them. And sabotage
Let's
their
not
interests.
act like the increased connectedness that communication can have doesn't have the same power to influence and subjugate people to.
Subjugate people.
Yeah.
But the point being that you as the government, because remember this is the government. Lenin is the government, right? You as the government want to put into the hands of people, because when we talk about Soviet power means workers, collective workers, like the workers themselves are then running their communities. You get what I'm saying? So if you want workers in the community running themselves, but also having communication with the central bureaucracy in a sense, right? Then, or having communication with each other in distant locations, then you need electricity for that to work. You understand? If you do not have electricity, then you might have to send, like you might be sitting in Moscow, and then you're going to have to send somebody from Moscow towards, or somebody from some region with electricity, right, to some remote location to tell them what the new program is, or what's the plan, or what's the quota, or what should be their economic, plans, or what have you. And that's just a delay, an unnecessary delay that could have been solved if we had just put the cost up to give them electricity so they could get the direct orders. Because again, this is not. It's like having like C-SPAN. Like if you want to hear what Joe Biden says, but you don't use a television and you don't use a radio, and like newspapers don't reach you, it's gonna be pretty damn
Twitter.
difficult. Well, yeah. What? Really?
You're welcome.
Nah, shit, you're right. I mean, shit, I could just went on Twitter. You're right.
You talking all this other stuff, just go on Twitter.
I know, right? Like, why, shit. I mean, I don't have electricity, but, All right. So, anyway. But this is the first time that we have set about economic work in such a fashion that besides separate plans which have arisen in separate sections of industry, as was, for instance, the transport system, and have been brought into other branches of industry, we now have all-over plan calculated for a number of years. This is hard work designed to bring about the victory of communism. So again, you're going to do that kind of stuff. It should, however, be realized and remembered that we cannot carry out electrification with the illiterates we have. Okay? So he's like, look, all right, you real talk, our people do not understand things that well. Okay? Our commission will endeavor to stamp out illiteracy, but that is not enough. It has done a good deal compared with the past, but it has done little compared with what has to be done. Besides literacy, we need cultured, enlightened, and educated working people. The majority of the peasants must be made fully aware of the task awaiting us. So again, this is what political parties are for. This is what political education is for. It's not simply like a lot of times what African people do is or even the communists, what they do is that they bring up the literacy rate of the people, right? But what Lenin is saying here, which is really important, is that you have to go even above and beyond literacy. It's okay, like being able to read is one thing. Being able to read advanced mechanical, technical text is a whole other thing. It's like, in fact, I remember, I don't know if you were able to check it out, but Machiavelli, but there was this, I read this book called Conscientism by Nkrumah, right?
No, I ain't read that.
Yeah, that book is difficult. Okay?
I bet.
That book is difficult.
Wait, that's the one where dude was doing some like discrete math?
Yeah, discrete mathematics and so forth. Yeah.
Tautology and all that.
Yeah,
I don't know
that is, now that's might be a little bit more technical, a little higher level, but the reality is that there's a difference between being literate and being that level of literate.
And what you doing?
Yeah, I mean, because I actually remember when I was in college, I had to, I was in grad school, I had to TA a class on electricity, right?
Yeah.
And so you're drawing out circuits. And now I had to TA, so I had to like
gates and all that kind of stuff.
You said what?
Like gates and channels. And
yeah, gates and channels. Yeah, so it's like you gotta read. You have to be able to read a circuit board. You have to be able to read a circuit diagram. And like me personally, I was like, I'm an astrophysics student. I don't know why you guys are making me TA this.
What is all
But like this is what they were training and teaching themselves, and that's a different level of literacy. It's not the same, but that's the kind of thing that Lenin is saying.
I'll say that's more specialization, though.
Exactly. Lenin is saying that you want that sort of specialization. You want that literacy as well. Now, you might say, hey, maybe that should be limited to a certain people. But I think what Lenin is also saying is that
I don't see the benefit of everybody knowing how to, build up a whole circuit board. That's a waste.
To read
everybody's doing it.
To read a circuit board. You have to be, like he's saying, be able to read it. Maybe you're not going to build it, but read it. It's kind of like, I think there's an example of, maybe there might be some example of us, like I guess all of us know H2O and all that kind of stuff. Like
you'd be surprised.
Huh?
You'd be surprised who doesn't.
Generally speaking, I think all of us went through it. It's like one of the main school subjects.
Sure.
I think chemistry and biology and earth science. Like these are like the required. Like basically in America, there are in our education not our education, but in the education system of America, there are certain subjects that are just required.
Hours you pay taxes, don't you?
Is it what?
You pay taxes, so it is technically hours. You could say.
I pay taxes on record, sure. When I'm talking on record, I pay taxes.
Of course, officer. What do you mean, officer?
Of course, officer. You know what I'm saying? Like shit, I pay all the taxes, man. Shit, I pay. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, like for instance, like even like mathematical language, we learned that, or like sine, cosine, tangent, like we all learned that. Notwithstanding the use case, or limits and all that kind of stuff, pre-calculus.
MDOS.
MDOS, and yeah. So it's like there's certain things that it's like you don't need it to read, but like above and beyond reading, we learn these things. And that's what I'm saying, huh?
No, I hear you.
Yeah, I think electricity in this day and age that should be included. Internet sort of stuff, sockets and all that kind of stuff. Maybe that should be included too. Like we're talking about building a future people, because the thing that we're basing it off of normally actually it goes back to Plato, to be honest. But the thing that we're basing it off of normally is like this liberal arts education.
Actually, basing on Plato, Socrates, and them.
Greek. Well, yeah, Plato actually does talk about the different subjects we're supposed to learn, and so we technically do copy this Roman Greek.
Well, he had a big old book of Plato, something that his students wrote for him while he was teaching something that's like that.
I don't know what you're talking about, but yeah. But basically, I think even when the ancient Egyptians, they had like several books, like maybe like 42 books on different subjects, but like medical and so forth. But those were actually specialists though. They weren't necessarily the masses.
Sure.
But yeah. All right, let's see. So besides literacy, we need cultured, enlightened, and educated working people. The majority of the peasants must be made fully aware of the task awaiting us. This program of the party must be a basic book to be used in every school. You will find in it in addition to the general plan of electrification, separate plans for every district of Russia. Thus, every comrade who goes to the provinces will have a different scheme of electrification for his district, a scheme for transition from darkness and ignorance to a normal life. What'd you say?
No, see, that's where I didn't really understand at first. But I said, we treat like everybody in the same nation the same thing. I don't see the benefit in that. But different regions have specializing and doing like one region for agriculture, one region for this and that. That makes sense.
That's brilliant. You see what I'm saying? I mean, I don't like to compliment. I don't like to compliment white folk, but like that's brilliant in the sense that
I'm gonna call a spade a spade. I mean, it's not a broken clock, as my auntie would say, is right twice in a day.
Oh yeah, true that. Your auntie does say that. but like what I'm saying is that like if you asked me right now, what is the plan for Gabon? Like, what is our political party's plan for Gabon? Or what is our political plan for Gabon or whatever, right?
I ain't going there. What you talking about?
What is our political plan for Togo? What is our political plan for Lagos City? What is our political plan for the name of another city in Nigeria? I don't even know.
Abuja.
Abuja. What is our political plan for Abuja? Or like, name a district in Abuja. Okay, all right. Look at you. You all try to flex. But the point is that these people are saying, look, there's a plan for Perestroika. There's a plan for Stalingrad. You know, like they're doing it.
Vladimir.
I know, right? Vladimir. They have a plan for every damn place. And then so when they're giving a general education to the people are saying, oh, look, this is the plan for my province. Oh, I see what they're trying to do. And this is what you really have to communicate, because right now, people are saying like this is the one thing that the ADOS people complain about. They say, what is it like? What do you guys have for us? What is it a plan for us? We don't got no plan for no Jamaica. We don't got no plan for no Texas. We don't got no plan for no Abuja. We don't got no plan for, like, we don't have nothing. But we're supposed to be communicating these plans, because when you communicate these plans of how to electrify these areas, how to develop, like, what kind of industries they have, when you have 200 people sitting down saying, look, this is what we could do, and you have 100,000 people or 200,000 people or whatever sitting back and saying, this is what we're going to do, and then you have 1 million people saying, wow, this is the plan, this is what our people came up with. That's a big difference from what we have today, which is nothing. All right. So he says, separate plans for every district of Russia. Thus, every comrade who goes to the provinces will have a definite scheme of electrification for his district, a scheme for transition from darkness and ignorance to a normal life. And comrades, you can and must compare the theses you have been presented with, elaborate, and check them on the spot. You must see to it that when the question, what is communism, is asked in any school and in any study circle, the answer should contain not only what is written in the party program, but also say how we can emerge from the state of ignorance. You know, communism is about emerging from the state of ignorance. Our best men, our economic experts, have accomplished the task we set them up. We set them of drawing up a plan for the electrification of Russia and the restoration of her economy. We must now see to it that the workers and peasants should realize how great and difficult this task is, how it must be approached and tackled. We must see to it that every factory and every electric power station becomes a center of enlightenment. If Russia is covered with a dense network of electric power stations and powerful technical installations, our communist economic development will become a model for a future socialist Europe and Asia. Stormy and prolonged applause. There you go. That's it. That's what communism is. Communism is about Soviet power and electrification of the country, right?
All right.
Bit of Medicine Podcast says Congo has the largest hydroelectric potential in the world, right? Then he says, well, in Africa, right? And we're just not even using it at all. And then, of course, the learning curve says, that's right, nephew. Because you guys have something. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's what communism is. And it's not even that bad. And how he's articulating it. Or you understand now, at least, why our ancestors, a lot of our ancestors, would have adopted it. Because they're saying to themselves, you know what? Electricity is not going to come to us through the capitalist way. It's not going to come to us through the market way. You know? There's no reason to give a bunch of peasants electricity. You know, the capitalists, what the capitalists are there for is to extract resources, right? They don't need to give any electricity. They don't need to build anything outside of the cities, outside of the port cities. If they want to have a home somewhere, they can just build a home in Lagos. They don't have to go to whatever village, Machiavelli came from, right? They don't have to go to that village, right? They they don't have to go because why do so they don't need to build any electricity there. They don't need to build any homes there. They don't need to so forth. But if the leader of Nigeria wants the village where Machiavelli comes from to have electricity,
you're gonna run into the ground, bro.
You said what?
You're gonna run that phrase to the ground.
Don't you come from a village? No, I understand. Like I didn't nothing wrong with being a village, man. Villages are nice. I want to be in a village. I just said
you keep making.
Bro, you told me you're from a village, man. Like, what do you want me to...
I know, but you keep making that point over and over. We get it.
Ain't your name the Maroon Village? Like, you a whole village. Like you identify as a village, my guy. Like
that was my Tumblr days in high school, bro. Come on.
Yeah, okay, village. But you know, that's your youth. You're a village. My bookman says there's an existing PA political party. It's the African Continental Unity Party, ACUP. They have a Telegram group and could use some activists. So she's just pointing out.
You say ACON?
ACUP. ACUP. It's almost like ICUP, but you know.
Hilarious.
Right? But anyway, yeah. So but I'm saying every one of us should be a part of a political party. You know, every one of us should be a part of a political party. If you're not a part of a political party, you're not gonna have a political platform. But you also have to understand that, because one of the issues that I think I remember from ACUP or some other groups, a lot of groups are gonna tell you don't need a leader. You know, you don't need a leader. You just need a code. You just need so on and so forth. No, you need a leader. You need a treasury. You know,
you can have a bunch of people being pilots on the plane. That plane gonna crash.
Exactly. You can't have a bunch of people on being a pilot on a plane. You need somebody. You need a pilot, maybe a co-pilot, but you need somebody as a pilot. Remember
you have a co-pilot, but you still have the chief pilot.
Exactly. Yeah. Remember what Lenin says about the cost for electrification, and then he says, "Hey, look, we don't have that much gold in our reserves, right? You need to have somebody who's overseeing these reserves.
Yeah, treasury.
You have to have the treasurer is reporting to somebody who can direct it. If you do not have a treasurer, like if there's no leader, you're not gonna have a treasurer. You know, because where do you put all the money? And if you don't have a treasury, you're not gonna be able to afford no 1 billion rubles. And if you need 1 billion rubles to do something, right? Then you're going to need a treasury. You're going to need to have a collective wealth, and that collective wealth is going to have to be beholden to. Yeah, if you just have a code, if you have a code and no money in your pocket, you are useless. No disrespect. You know, I should have said that first, right? But no disrespect. If you have a code and you don't have any money in your pocket, if you don't have any money, if you don't have a gold, like a war chest, this is what I talk about this is what I talk about. The war chest. If you do not have a war chest, you are not going to be waging war. Because you might say, hey, I don't like these white folk here. I don't like blah, blah, blah. But it doesn't mean anything. You said what?
You're a pacifist. Then what's the point of having a war chest?
If you're a pacifist. Exactly. So I'm saying, like that's another thing. Like, you have this code, and some people are going to be a pacifist. Some people are going to be so on and so forth. You're screwing up. You have to have a war chest, and you have somebody who's saying, look, this person is watching the war chest, but I'm gonna have the power of the purse. And when you have that power, right, then you could bring that electricity. Then you could modernize. Then you could develop your people. But you're not developing your people on this, each of us just do whatever we can. Because none of you could do anything big. None of you. You know what I mean? Unless you expect somebody to give everything, none of you could do anything big by yourself. It says many hands make light work. That's just a very famous phrase. Many hands make light work. That means
made that phrase.
Probably some white boy, but I heard a black guy say it, so
Okay, we gonna go with him.
Yeah, exactly. We gonna go with him, right? But it's like a famous thing. But actually, I think what's his name might say it all the time too. Aesop's fables. He would give him
Aesop.
Aesop.
Like Aesop Rock.
Aesop fables.
Oh, my bad. Continue.
Alright. So anyway, yeah. So yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Like many hands make light work. So
Yeah,
you,
I'm surrounded by old heads. I need to.
I know, right? Aesop, like that guy from like ancient Egypt, like ancient Greece. He's like 2,000 years old. Why do I know, right? No. Anyway, this guy did like it's not your age, man. It's like anyway, but yeah. But anyway, that I think I know you're talking about ASAP. That's different though. But yeah, that's it, family. Appreciate the listen. Make sure you guys check out all KWZ Radio, but also check out these other channels too. You know, everybody came through, so I'll just let you guys know. You got Bitter Medicine Podcast, you got Organic African Paradigm, you know, you got The Learning Curve, you got I'm a Bookman, and of course you got the Harsh Reality Podcast. So make sure you guys, and of course you got Mchaka here.
I was to say, you just gonna forget me like I'm the black sheep of the family. What's up? What we doing, bro?
Nah, he's a good brother. Him and Erzuli gonna have a show together, you know?
Nah, we cool.
You know, Erzuli gonna have a show together, so, you know, make sure y'all check that out. It's gonna be the latest.
Nah, bro, be yelling too much.
What do you be doing?
I don't know. You tell me.
Anyway, but all right, family. Thank you so much, and of course, Shabby Emotep, Aku Jasa Neb Neb. Amen. My aunt do our next.
I'm saying, you dig?
I tried to close it.
Hey, that's a flavor to it.